Another day in the terminus, ready to go fight Grandmother Silk, except I'm here a bit earlier than most. I have the Cling Grip and the Swift Step, and I have one Silk Heart, but nothing else. So I did not fight Lace 2, I did not even fight the Widow, because I never got the needle in from her. In fact, everything about Hornet, as you can see, is an Act 1 state. I haven't even upgraded my needle. And that is because I am still in Act 1. So you may ask, Kilroy, how did you possibly get to the last room of the game if you're still in Act 1? And it is because of a little something called out of bounds glitching. Something that you will be very familiar with if you watch some of my last videos, but also something you're familiar with because of a glitch that was just found by Ibsen's Adventures, a fantastic channel. I love watching their videos, and they recently discovered a glitch with their bench storage glitch that they know that lets you go out of bounds in Act 1, far before my out of bounds trick, which normally comes by using Silk Eaters against Grandmother Silk. So I'm not going to go into extreme detail about the glitch Ibsen Adventure discovered because that is their prerogative. They're going to be making a video covering the glitch in detail. But I'm going to show you how I'm using that glitch to skip from near the beginning of the game all the way here to the terminus. The next minutes of instruction are going to go by quickly. Bear with me. If you want a slower and more methodical take on this glitch, go watch Ibsen. First, you will pogo immediately into the worms, because this actually activates something called pogo storage. You can see while running now, these things around Hornet are getting destroyed because the game thinks she is pogoing even while you are not acting. So we're going to take this stored pogoing and come over to the Bell Beast and pogo off of her with our map open. By holding the map button and being able to pogo without pressing anything, we are now able to move freely with the map button open. And if we sit on the bench while doing so, we have now stored the bench, and that means we can go to the travel screen, close the map, and travel from anywhere on this screen. So we want to travel while exiting a loading zone, because that is what causes the glitch. Now, you should bind your sprint button to your interact button, go over far fields, come here, and click your interact button at that exact place to run out of the screen and travel at the same time, which will cause this glitchy effect. And also, many glitchy effects. We have now turned the far fields Bellway room into like a cage. This is the slab 2.0. Except it's not the slab 2.0, because you can get out by going underneath that area there. And this is where we must go to continue this glitch. Now, things from this point are going to be hard to see, but when you leave this room, you want to immediately turn left, then turn right, and then turn left once more. Now follow these instructions carefully. After you get to this screen, just hold left, don't run or jump, just walk, and once you've fallen, move right slightly until you see this screen. From here, you can jump up and left, and you will hit a loading zone. But before continuing on here, you want to go right and left to load more rooms. I couldn't tell you how all this works, but I can promise you it does. The next step in this madness is to go right, then left, then right, then you guessed it, left. At this point, you want to hold left without changing anything else until you go through this screen, continue holding left until you do it a second time. Ibsen's a goddamn genius for figuring this out. Once you're out in this room, you want to reset again, go right, and then left, and this is the room that we all needed to get to. At this point, your goal is to die in this room. A good way to do that is to hold left until you hear Hornet hitting the ground. After you hear Hornet hitting the ground, with that big thump, you want to hold right until the camera stops moving to the right, and then hold left. And after you hold left, you can jump up to the left, and you will start taking damage from the enemies that are loaded in there. And then you just want to throw Hornet around a bunch of times until she dies here. I'm sorry that every single one of my videos has to include a segment where we torment Hornet, but this is just how you make progress in this game, with a lot of pain. Hornet knows that better than anyone. When you reload, you're going to be in a weird room where an enemy that is invisible is running around, a bench is in front of you, and even though you don't see it, the Bell Beast is off screen here. However, I am trapped, because what you actually have to do is get lucky and be hit by the enemy the moment Hornet spawns in. If you get to that room I just showed, and you're not immediately hearing this sound, once the room is loaded in, the entire glitch has failed. And it sucks super badly. I have spent hours and hours trying to get this glitch done multiple times in multiple ways for this video. So this challenge of beating Silksong in Act 1 is not for the faint of heart, let me tell you, but I did get it eventually. After a good few attempts, I was greeted with that wonderful sound of Hornet yelping in pain. And at that point, I have activated the out of bounds portion of this glitch. That's right, this entire glitch is an extremely convoluted method to get Hornet to awaken after death, immediately get hit by an enemy, which puts her hitbox in the state that makes her intangible to the world, able to float around, and this out of bounds glitch works exactly the same as the out of bounds glitch I've been showing in my previous videos on the Grandmother Silk and Silk Eater glitch. It's much harder to get it done this way, but sadly I could not really find a better way of getting out of bounds in Act 1 using the Silk Eater, so as it stands, this is the best path to get out of bounds. And as you can see, the Bell Eater, not the Bell Eater, that's the terrifying creature, the Bell Beast is loaded under the room here, and this is the Bell Beast from the blasted steps that we actually use at the beginning of the video. So using our new out of bounds power, we have to go slightly under the ground here and find exactly where the station is so that we can call the Bell Beast and get her to take us out of this room. Because by calling the Bell Beast, as you can see with that travel prompt, that is how we deactivate all this glitched room duping nonsense that we don't want to see anymore. So from here, we can just go to the deep docks, because that's a place I shown in my previous video that you can not get launched into the stratosphere forever, unlike a station like Bellheart, which is very much not safe to go to. But yeah, Hornet has been freed from her hell that I have put her in, because I'm a terrible person, I know this. And at this point, we are in the out of bounds glitch state in Act 1. Now, I would say the hardest part is done, and it 100% is. All of the stuff I've done before is the hardest part. But now we get to the most stressful part, because now you need to take Hornet up to the terminus, and you need to do so with some untraditional means, because you want to skip Act 2, then you have to skip the triggers for Act 2. And one of the ways I found you can do so is by going through the last judge. Now, I'm sure you may be confused by that statement. Kilroy, isn't the last judge a very normal way of entering Act 2 in Hollow Knight Silksong? And it is. But that's only if you beat the last judge in a proper way. So, I'm just fast traveling to the Blasted Steps because we fortunately have its access. It's important when going to the last judge that you do not hit any hazards, because as I said, this is the same out of bounds glitch as many previous ones worked, where if you hit any hazards, you will immediately lose all of your floating and intangible capabilities. And I also would recommend you changing your skills, your controls back to normal after this, because hopefully you're not going to need to redo it. This is why this part is stressful. If I make any tiny mistake, I have to redo that entire setup I showed you. And I've redone that setup dozens of times now. It has been a waste of the hours I have in my life. But at the very least, it will save you from having to do it as many times, hopefully. But yeah, part of the reason this whole entrance behind the last judge does not immediately start Act 2 is because if you remember, when you beat the last judge normally, you are thrown into a cutscene. And at the end of said cutscene, you get a big pop-up saying, Act 2, dun dun. serious time. Except we're never going to get to serious time. We're going to be in Act 1, easy, early game babies for the rest of this video. Don't you worry. And that is because we are not going to beat the Last Judge. We're going to go mosey on into the Last Judge's beautiful room. We're going to make those two pilgrims who always die in a playthrough. They're not going to die in our playthrough. And I say all of this as kind of just filler talk while we go over there. But this whole room is pretty easy to go through. The real trouble comes later. As you can see, we have not done a lot of what we were supposed to. We've only rung 2 bells. But you know what? Hornet doesn't need bells. And apparently she rang all 5 in the 3 seconds it took to walk through that door. So I think we're good now. So we still get our new quest telling us to go investigate the Citadel. But we did not get any indication of Act 2 starting. And that's because it has not started. We are in Act 1 and we will be in Act 1 for the rest of this save file. I personally guarantee it. And the path we are taking to avoid any Act 2 kind of confrontations or nonsense with Lace is through the Underworks. Because in the Underworks, we can go to a Ventrica station. Doesn't everyone remember this elevator, getting trapped by it? How much we've grown since 1 month ago, when we all spent our first times in the high halls of Hollow Knight Silksong, and now we are flying around like a god. But the thing about this glitch that is truly devious is that while you are able to go anywhere you want with flying, you are not able to access all fast travel stations. We are going through the Underworks to get to the first Ventrica station we can without really needing to enter the Citadel and without needing to go through vertical loading zones. Because while downwards vertical loading zones have been solved, upwards have not. And because I die many times in order to set up this glitch, I have no rosary beads on me. And because I'm a fool, I have no usable rosary beads on me. So I'm gonna go farm 80 rosary beads from the most poorly paid workers of the Underworks so I can afford the Ventrica station. Hey everyone, I think I found the first time these things have ever been useful. Stupid video game. Team Cherry, the monsters. Anyway, after absolutely nothing happened, I have returned to the Underworks. And this is where the true stress comes in. Because if you may remember anything about the Underworks from a casual playthrough, it is full of things to run into to make you take damage, and to make you respawn on a platform. In other words, the one thing that is entirely poison to our out-of-bounds glitching. So, this will be a very slow and very careful guide to getting through the Underworks to the Ventrica system without taking damage from those sources at all. It's okay if you take damage from enemies, but take damage from any of these spikes, any of these cogs, and you have to reset the whole glitch. And I'm fortunate enough to not have done that yet. Come back to me in 2 minutes and you will see if I get hit in this recording. I hope I do not. This has already been way too much work for what it is, for what the outcome is. But this is the Delicate Flower quest from Hollow Knight. I feel like people looked at the Courier's Rasher quest and say it's so terrible because now it has a time limit. But the thing with the Courier Rashers is you can get hit multiple times and still deliver that thing perfectly fine. Team Cherry was generous with that, buddy. No. We are back to the classics, where you get hit by anything looking your way funny, and you have wasted hours of your life. Maybe that wasn't the case truly for the flower, but it certainly is the case for this. Just damage tank for normal enemies, because they have basically there's nothing bad about them. the chance of you dying is way less than the chance of you getting clipped by one cog that you weren't looking at around the corner. However, if you follow the path I have been showing while rambling about how scared I am, then you will be able to get through this section without too much worries. There is, I believe, 2 more rooms until you can get to the Ventrica station. This room and 1 room up high. This is the wrong room. You do not need to go into this room for any reason. My bad. I will be leaving. Have fun with your shiny there, gentlemen. Yes, you go up. You can always go through the environment in case you're worried about taking damage from enemies, as long as you don't go too far out and you lose track of Hornet. You can avoid this entire room's gimmick, where you normally have to go above, by just phasing through the shortcut at the bottom. And we have basically made it to our destination. From here, you leave to the right. You have no more hazards to worry about, except for, like, no, there's nothing at all. I was worried I was gonna make a fool of myself. Now you come here with the rosary strings that you certainly must have the first time you come here. What are you, you're not some kind of idiot, are you? And once you pay for this Ventrica, you, for all intents and purposes, have beaten Hollow Knight Silksong in Act 1. I say that because Grandmother Silk is such a joke that it barely matters what you do to her. And once you get to the terminus in this state, guess what you can immediately unlock, and you never have to worry about going out of bounds again? The shortcut. At this point, you are free to go ahead and beat the final boss of the game in an Act 1 state. For me, with no needle in, with no, no grapple. All I have is the ability to run and the ability to walk thing. That is it. And in case you didn't know, those are all the movement abilities you need to get through the cradle. Yeah, even though Team Cherry expected you to get to the cradle with at least the ability to play your needle in and the ability to use your grapple, none of those are needed in the small platforming section before Grandmother Silk. For the love of all that is holy, let me rest. Yes, okay. I have now saved my progress. It can never be taken away from me by random crashes ever again. I have gone essentially nowhere in the game. I have visited the only Act 2 location is the Underworks, but you can get there without being Act 2, so who cares? I still am told to search the Silent Halls because I've never entered the Silent Halls. And I'm still being told to free Bellheart because those poor souls are trapped in their silk for the rest of time for all Hornet cares. And why not unlock the second shortcut while we're still able to float around? But at this point, I think the stress of maintaining this is too much. Let's just get rid of it. And I will show you very quickly that in the cradle, you can complete it all with only the ability to walk thing and the ability to dash. That is all that has ever been needed to pass through this room to the final boss of the game. And I'm not going to show you all of Grandmother Silk's boss fight, you guys know how it goes. But once I get up there, I'll just cut to the special part to show you that I truly did beat the game, with Act 1 being the only act I have ever explored as Hornet. Grandmother Silk demolished by a Hornet who is basically just as weak as she was when she escaped her cage. This needle has not been upgraded once. I have 1 Silk skill, and I only died to her once when I was trying to do this, and even that one time was an embarrassment. Thank you everyone for watching this video. I am exceedingly pleased that this is able to be done. Thank you so much to Ibsen's Adventures for helping me make this video. Please check their YouTube channel out. They've made great discoveries. They've really contributed so much to this game already since it's been out, and I want to see them grow. Thank you everyone for watching this video. If you're interested in learning more about Silksong's abilities to break itself open, its secrets, its wonders, then please come back for another video I will have very soon. Have a good day, everyone.